Hello everyone and welcome to Minute Meta. I am your host Darth Edward, and today I'm going to be going through with you the best audio settings and all the things that I have found about audio in this game from playing it well over 70 or 80 hours since it came out, plus going into a private match with one of my community members, that is what you're watching right now, and just literally doing really basic things, trying to figure out what's the distance you can hear somebody attack sprinting, what's the distance you can hear somebody sprinting, what's the difference you can hear somebody walking, crouching, things like that. And I've just done a lot of research trying to figure out what are all the best things that you can do. If all you're here for is settings and you don't care about all the mumbo jumbo that I'm probably about to talk on for a good 10 minutes, please just go down below. You can find the timestamp and go straight to there. I will see you there in a few minutes. If you actually want to understand how I came to my conclusions with all of these things, stick around. We are going to be going through a very in-depth conversation that I am trying to still wrap my head around myself. Now you might be asking, what are the reasons why you can trust my opinion? Well, I started learning about sound when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I started running sound at my local church, doing things like running live broadcast, running live actual front of house things, trying to do recordings, things like that. That's when I started actually learning about sound. And since then, I have continued doing sound all of my life for probably, I'm 25 years old now, so 13 plus years. And so even though I am not professionally trained and went to school for it, I have 13 years of experience messing with stuff, figuring out how to, okay, I'm going to break this on purpose, trying to figure out how to fix it, things like that. So you can trust my opinion on this, plus the fact that I've got well over 3,000 hours in this game over the past 3 years because I've just been playing a crap ton of Call of Duty and making content for it. So I understand the audio of old Warzone, trying to understand the audio of new Warzone. So that's why you can trust my opinion. So the first thing that we need to do is I need to explain something to you. Now, what I need to explain is this thing right here. It is called dynamic range. Dynamic range is a term that's used in every single one of these in-game settings, but you looking at that and be like, what is dynamic range? Why do I need to know what that is? Well, it is very, very important with the audio of this game, trying to figure out how everything works. So dynamic range, let's pull up paint here. We're going to have an arbitrary black line right here. Boom. That line is 0. 0 in audio is what most people consider quote unquote baseline. It's an arbitrary thing that means this is good, this is even, it's just where things are set. So dynamic range is how high or how low below 0 this goes. So a high dynamic range means it goes way up here and way down here. So that is a very, very high dynamic range around 0. So if you want a high dynamic range, as in music, things like that, a lot of times that's what you want. Like home theater setting right here, it says high dynamic range. That means things that are quiet are going to be extremely quiet, and things that are extremely loud are going to be extremely loud. That means these arbitrary lines that we are thinking of right here are getting closer and closer together. So they start right here, then they might move to like right here, then they might move to like right here, and eventually they're going to end up very close or semi-close to this arbitrary line of 0. So that things that are quiet are going to be louder, but things that should be ridiculously loud in comparison to the quiet things are actually a little bit quieter. So it would look something like this. So we're going to be looking at this right here. As you can see, we have home theater. These are outside lines of home theater, soundbar, headphones, and PC. That is a concept you need to understand to be able to understand the audio in this game. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Now, the reason why you need to understand this and why it is so important in this game is that footsteps are considered on the lower dynamic range of this game. So when I was going through and testing all of these settings, every time that I went up a notch, footsteps themselves got louder because they are considered something quiet in this game. That is part of why it is so confusing about audio in this game, because not only are footsteps quiet, all the explosions going on, all the gunshots, all your people running around you, the more footsteps that there are around you, the louder it gets. When there's a high dynamic range, the gunshots are really loud, the explosions are really loud, everything going around you is loud, and then the footsteps are quiet. So in order for us to bring that footstep volume up, one of the ways that we can do that is by setting the correct setting and having as tight a dynamic range as possible. The issue with having a tight dynamic range is once you tighten that dynamic range up, like we're seeing right here, That means all of the sounds are going to be happening in this little bitty section right here. So a lot of these sounds are going to be just loud. Everything, at this point, everything is just loud. Because yes, just because the explosions aren't as loud, they are still loud. So while footsteps are now loud, that means gunshots are loud, and footsteps are loud, and everything around you is loud. But in order to be able to still hear the footsteps, you have to bring them up. So it's a happy medium of trying to find the correct balance of making sure you can still hear footsteps, but everything is not just cram-packed together. The other issue with this game is, okay, look with me in the top left-hand corner. This is just a sound bar of frequencies. It goes 50, 100, 200, 300, all the way up to 20,000. These are measured in hertz. That is what frequency audio is happening in. The other major issue with this game is almost every single sound in this game is happening at 300 hertz or below. That can make it very, very difficult to hear footsteps. This is gonna look a little bit different. I'm actually re-recording this after I'm in the process of editing because the first time I explained this, I did not explain this very well. So what is happening is all of these frequencies are running up really, really, really close to each other, and they're creating interference with each other because all these frequencies are just stacking on top of each other, either on top of each other or very, very close. And so depending on how good your headphones are, that is how good it is at actually differentiating all of these different frequencies. And now we continue. This concept is why you see competitive Warzone players having such expensive headphones, because expensive headphones like the ones that I have right now, the headphones that I have are $200, which is actually on the low end of extremely hi-fi headphones. I'm an audiophile, it's a whole different story, but this is on the lower end of extremely expensive headphones. If you go into some, even like Iceman Isaac has, the pair that Iceman Isaac has is around $1,200. They are what most people consider the best headphones that you can have for gaming. But most people can't afford these things. And so when all of these frequencies are stacked up on top of each other in such a low range, a lot of times they just get all muddied together, and so you can't hear the difference between a footstep and a gunshot and an explosion. But that's just a sound design issue with this game, and so there's not a lot of things we can do as a player perspective other than just try and pick the correct settings and get in the best possible position to hear the footsteps when they are there. And here on the screen, you can see the distances as what you can start hearing people based off what they're doing. If they're walking, you can hear them at 16 meters, sprinting 26, tack sprinting 31. So there is a slight like ease into the sound, but that is basically a hard line of if they're at 32 meters, you're not going to be able to hear them. At 31 meters, it's making noise. Same for all of the above. With crouching, you basically can't hear anything. It doesn't even matter. Now, this fourth line is what is important. Anything in between you and the feet of the person who is making the sound, it is a negative 33% distance of how far away you can hear them. From what I found, it doesn't really matter if it's one wall, two walls, a building. If there's anything in between you, it's just going to be a negative 33% distance of hearing. But now this is where it gets crazy. So I'm going to remove my face here. This is me actually recording what is going on. You are going to see the exact moment where I realize that there is something absolutely dumb about this game. When I say if there is anything in between you and the feet, I mean anything between you and the feet. That includes stairs. So right here, you can see me testing it because I'm starting to realize what's going on. I am able to hear her walking towards me at 15 meters. But once she gets to about 13 meters where the steps are covering her feet, I am no longer able to hear her until her foot appears at the top of the step, and then all of a sudden I'm able to hear her again. So this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't even muffle them. It is a 33% distance range of how much it muffles those feet, of how far you can hear them based off of what they're doing. I again go later in the video and do this again with me trying to do it with her doing it, and then here I do her walking, I do her sprinting, different types of things to see if that is actually what's happening. And so we went later, did a couple more things around in actual game, trying to figure this out, while we're also not trying to die. It was a whole, there's not very good footage of me trying to figure this out because I'm dying a lot and there's a lot of other sound going on. But basically we found out that if there is anything in between you, including a step, a wall, anything in between the feet, that is why the audio distance is being decreased. That is why you are having such a hard time and why footsteps are sounding so inconsistent on this game. Okay, now you're wondering, Darth, what setting do I need to run? That is broken up into two very distinct groups of people. Number one is going to be 95% of the player population of this game. It is going to be console players and PC players who do not have the ability to EQ via a third-party software. EQing is just manipulating different frequencies. That way some frequencies are higher than others, and you can kind of understand from that point. You can literally just go manually turn up footsteps. It is a very, very complicated thing to do. So if you want to learn about it, feel free. If you're on PC, you have the ability to do this. It is just I do not have the time nor the wherewithal to be able to go through the explanation of doing this. If you do not know how to do it, there are many other videos that can explain the basics of this first. Then you can come back to this video and look at the EQ settings that I'm currently using to help improve Footstep audio later in this video. I'm going to be going through that in group 2. But group 1, what you're going to want to choose is headphone bass boost. The reason why I'm saying you choose headphone bass boost is it's not the tightest dynamic range, so everything's not just the exact same sound and same level of audio, but it's the second tightest, so it brings those footsteps up very, very loud. You can definitely hear a difference between headphone and headphone bass boost. Either one of them, you can definitely hear a difference between those in home theater whenever I was testing it. The reason you want to choose bass boost is because that boosts the range from probably around 50 hertz all the way up to around 200 hertz, and footstep audio in this game is sitting right here at around 110 hertz. So while that also boosts everything around that range, and a lot of the things in this game are under 300, so it increases the sound of everything, it also increases the sound of footsteps, so you're being able to hear them. The only other suggestion that I have for you console players and people who don't want to EQ is you have to buy better headphones. I'm not going to be doing that in this video. Trying to suggest headphones is a whole long rabbit hole that I spend hours upon hours upon hours of researching just for fun, because that's what I do. But I'm not going to be doing that in this video. If you would like suggestions on what I have, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, because I'm going to be doing a lot of streaming on this YouTube channel now that Warzone 2 and DMZ are going to be out. So you can make sure you click subscribe and click the bell. That way you are notified whenever new videos come out and whenever we have live streams. That way you can come check it out and ask me questions. So if that's you, if you're on console or PC with no EQ ability, thank you so much for watching. I will see you later. I hope I was able to see you later. If you're wanting to get more in depth with what you can do with your audio, make sure you stick around for this one. So the second option that you have is if you are on PC, but you do have the ability / knowledge to EQ, you can turn it onto headphones, turn bass boost off, and these are the EQ settings that I'm currently using. As you can see, I have it turned extremely high at 110, because that is, I think, the bass footstep audio in this game. I'm hearing a lot more footsteps ever since I've done this. I have cut a hard cut, trying to cut off as much as I can at around 90 and anything below that, because I'm trying to get as much low end out as I possibly can to try and be able to hear those footsteps more. I have turned up a little bit more around 200 and 300, just not quite as much, because depending on what they're walking on, may it be stone, wood, concrete, grass, things like that, the outside frequencies outside of 110 may be slightly different, but from all the things that I've tested, 110 is like where your heel is hitting the ground. That's the frequency it's making, and that's where you're going to be able to hear the most. I've also went and turned down some of the lower frequencies, because that is where the resident gunshot, like, extra frequencies are, just trying to make everything else as quiet as absolutely possible. I'm just trying to hear footsteps. This does make for a very, very loud experience and very, very low experience, but that is why I tried to cut off as much sub bass as I possibly can, trying to save ears as much as possible, plus being able to distinguish with the footstep audio frequencies. Now, everything that I've talked about over the past probably 15 or 20 minutes, I don't even know how long this video is going to be, is trying to create the most competitive aspect possible. This is not trying to create immersive experience. If you just want to have an immersive experience, I'm sorry, that's not what I do. I am trying to help people improve at the game as much as possible. So I hope this video helped you in some way, shape, or form, being able to understand the complexity of the audio in this game. I'm still trying to understand it. This is just kind of what I understand right now from the testing that I've done over the past around 2 weeks. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I was able to teach you something. Please make sure to drop a like and subscribe. That way you can find your way back here and help us out in the algorithm. Drop a comment whether you have a question or just want to put your favorite emoji. Again, it helps us out in the algorithm. Y'all are absolutely fantastic. Y'all slay out and aim for greatness.